Hi everyone, and welcome to a very bathtub Christmas. Tonight, Matt and I are going to be talking about the science of Santa. And happy Christmas, Matt! Welcome. It's been so long since we've done one of
Yes,
these. It's nice to be
I
back at it,
know.
isn't it? So
I know, and to take on such an interesting topic.
because it
Although
really
I will
is.
say that yes, for anyone listening tonight, we are going to pretend just for tonight that Santa doesn't have magic when we ask our questions, but uh, that might be for another time to talk about how he does it with magic. But we're going to address the non-magic version tonight. But yes, I know it's been a while, so this should be cool to
It
see
should
where
be.
we
It should
get
be.
to,
So,
and
what?
we'll see. Oh, I was just gonna say,
Yeah, go.
we'll see what sort of wild questions we get given.
Because I'm sure
Should
we'll
we
get some
give
lovely questions.
some kind of like brownie points to whoever gets the or
Oh,
gives
hey,
us the
yeah, we
best
should we should
question
be
for
giving
tonight?
some good. Yeah, we should keep a track of what questions we get from people, and yeah, give it a winner for the night. They can have a Christmas cookie, and plenty of Christmas cheer.
I just noticed on the stream we've got a train going across the front.
Yeah, across the front. Yeah.
Yes, because I can't quite see the background yet on StreamYard, so I'm seeing everything like that with a slight delay. So if my facial expressions are delayed, that's why.
Yeah.
I swear
Matt
I'm
can't
not
see
slow.
this because all the nice little thingy bits are being done in OBS and not in StreamYards, which was grabbing us from. But I mean, if there's anyone in the chat who wants to at some point hop in and talk about the science of Santa with us, we're more than if we know you, we're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Just either send Matt or I a request on Twitter, and we will shoot you a link. We won't put an open link in the chat because that way you can get some weirdos. and weirdos at Christmas,
Yes.
especially as we're trying to keep unlike what normally happens in our streams, because the kids come and watch things about Santa. We love the kids, so we're going to try and be a bit cleaner tonight than well, I sometimes am, and and yeah, talk nicely about the lovely Santa. Um, so
And hopefully we don't get any apologetics in the chat.
now, what we kind of started this
That
discussion
can
last
be another
night.
one.
Yeah, we kind of started this discussion last night when we were talking about how on earth you could get around the Earth at all in one night. And
Well, see, that's the other thing I was thinking is that it's not just getting around the Earth, but you've got to visit a certain number of houses. So it's not that you just go from like A to B. You got to go A, B, and then back halfway, like zipping around. So it got me thinking. The first thing I think we need to do is figure out how many houses he needs to visit and what's the kind of
oh,
distance between them.
so
Because how far does he actually have to travel?
well, I mean, I don't suppose he has to travel to every country because there's some countries where they don't believe in Santa, and so Santa doesn't have to go there. Although Santa's nicer than that, so let's assume the Santa goes to a large disproportion of all the houses on the world. And what we're a bit over 80 billion people now. Is that right? About
You mean
88 billion.
I
80
think-
billion. That would be a concern.
People everywhere.
Bit over 8.
Are we? Oh, let me check. I'm going to do this. Old population. I'm just double checking the background. 7.9.
7.9.
So 7.9
nearly 8
billion. So
so
just
if we assume all of those people are in nuclear families with, which is not going to be accurate, 2 and a bit kids. So let's just say 2 kids a family. So that's 1/4 of that. So 2 billion houses.
Oh, I got an average for you. 4.9 people per household worldwide. That's
4.9.
apparently
Okay,
the
so
average.
if we say it's 5 per house, he has to go to 1/5. Why couldn't it be a nice round number? Can we call it 4?
I know. All right,
Let's call it 4 instead of 5. Let's ignore the 0.9 of a person. Not that I've got anything against people who are not complete people, but
I mean, look, it's one. If you do because I'm typing the maths in, I'm not doing it in my head.
Yeah.
It's too late in the evening for that. It's 1.6 billion households that we need to.
okay, so
visit.
it's 1.6 billion households. That's a lot of houses in one night. And if you assumed an equal distance between all those households, there would be probably a couple of about a kilometer between each house. If you, but oh no, that's counting oceans, isn't it? So no, it'd be less than that.
You'd still have to occasionally cross the ocean, but yeah, because the zipping would be concentrated to cities.
Okay, Gary, I'll give you this one. Do they have to be nuclear families? Can't they be renewable families? They can be a mixture of both, Gary. It's the fossil fuel families I really worry about.
My family has a nuclear reactor. Wait.
Yeah. And
I power it with lasers.
And beryllium and everyone
you
else.
You can technically do that for fusion.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we'd have to be looking at energy sources for the sleigh, too, at some point.
Yes, but
let's figure out the distance.
I am trying to think of what the distance between all these is.
So we'd have to figure out the surface area of the Earth. Surface area of arable Earth, not the ocean. We'll ignore the ocean. Although some people live in houseboats, so... Let's ignore the houseboats and just talk about if you had houses on the arable land.
Maybe there is a way of doing this, because we know the surface area of the Earth, and we know how many households, so we could probably do a division to figure out what the rough
is, but we'd have to say the arable surface area of the Earth. So can we Google that?
Yes. Although let's say it's 30%, because then
that makes
yes,
it easier,
even though it's not 30%, we can still account for the oceans. I know it's a big assumption.
It's a huge assumption. So, all of this is assumption so far.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get some numbers. 510 million kilometers squared for the surface area of the Earth.
Yep.
And we're going to take 30% of that. Yep. So we're going to do... So it's 1.6... Well, it'll be... I'll eventually divide by that. So 510. And what I'm going to do, just because I know the orders of magnitude will cancel, I'll do everything in orders of billion. So it's 510, but I'm going to multiply it by 0.7. So, sorry, 0.3 to account for the oceans, because removing 70%. And so that gives us an area of 153 million kilometers squared. And then if we divide that by the 1.6, we have 95 kilometers squared per household.
Yeah.
Apparently.
That wouldn't be nice if that was actually the case.
It would be.
Although you'd be a long way from your neighbours. That just shows how much land on Earth actually isn't usable, because that land includes things like Antarctica and really big deserts that we have a lot of on the Earth.
Yes. And, I mean, look, Australia is one of the least populated countries in the world. And we're, 2.2 people per kilometre squared or per hectare, something like that. We're very, very low down, or at least those are old numbers, but it's not going to be hugely different from them. So then, of course, but if we're doing, that's an area, so let's go, I'm going to do square, oh, no.
They're talking about the rotation of the Earth at the moment, and how, because of that, Santa's actually got 24 hours to deliver these, not just one night, which is true. We will discuss that.
All right.
And Gary wants to know what the airspeed velocity of an unladen sleigh is. That will be interesting.
Is that an African or European sleigh? And are we carrying the presents online between them?
Well, how big would the sleigh have to be to carry all the presents?
Well, we can do that soon. Okay, so by our incredibly rough
Rough figures.
percentages. The distance on average, the distance he has to go between houses. And yes, I know, and I'm actually tempted to probably shorten this, well, like shrink this number a bit, because
A lot of houses are going to be in towns and stuff there. So
yeah, so it's going to be grouped. But if you just spread the houses evenly out, and he has to go to all of them individually, based on our numbers, it's about 9.7 kilometers between each house, which does seem a bit big for me. But I guess that's probably because we're thinking of cities.
But he still
where
has
you
to
can put
travel
everyone
that same kind of distance regardless. I mean, even if you group them all
yeah,
together,
because you got to zip between the houses and stop.
And in actual fact, our system would probably actually make it easier than trying to have to launch off one roof and land on the roof next door.
Oh, here's the other thing too. What percentage of houses have good boys and girls? Because that's another one, because he's not going to need to visit everyone.
Okay, well that's a good point. So yeah, were they naughty or they nice? And does your naughty or nice change depending on the culture you're from? Does Santa take account of the culture? So
do you want to just do a astronomy and do a full assumption? Just say let's go half.
Let's go half. I think the majority of kids getting into it are going to be like, we're going to have. Well, no, I think we could do a half, because not all those families would actually have kids. We've made an assumption there, but not all those houses would have kids. Not all those families have kids. So not all of those places he would have to deliver to. So if we did it half on naughty and nice, I think we'd make up for the excess over it, just based on the fact that he wouldn't have to go to all the houses anyway. I think the two things would balance out, so that you
actually that's not too bad, because if we do half, it's 4.87, which rounds off fairly nicely to 5 kilometers per house.
5 kilometers per house.
Yes.
Yeah. And Vareen said, actually, I was thinking that Santa has pickup points around the world like Amazon does. Santa subcontracts.
Maybe we can get
that could be a possibility.
At this stage, I'm just keen on trying to figure out how fast we need to go, because once we know that, we can start designing the sleigh for that, and then we can worry about storage, about how do we make it bigger. That's my thoughts. I don't know. Maybe answer the yes. But yeah, let's say it's okay. So that is actually it's easy, because 1.6 multiplied by 5, which would be it's 8 billion kilometers we need to travel in 24 hours, which gives us 3 billion kilometers an hour. No, have I done that? No, sorry. Did that the wrong way in my head. I did 24
Gary,
divided by 8.
I have to say, Gary, Santa stopped giving the kids lumps of coal because of global warming. It was just better not to give them presents at all if they were bad kids than give them a lump of coal, because it was bad for the environment. He had the EPA right on his tail for that, so it had to change. So we're not going to be accounting for coal because he doesn't do it anymore.
I have the number in front of me. It is 333.3 repeater million kilometers an hour that we need to travel.
333 million kilometers an hour. That's an appreciable fraction of the speed of light.
So that's going to kind of that actually puts us in a very unique regime of travel.
What do we have? Million kilometers an hour. So 333 million. So we're talking traveling at about 10%. No, more than 10% of the speed of light.
No, because per hour,
hour,
light is per second. Let me just divide this by.
Oh yeah, because you got to divide it by
60
by 60 by 60.
So
about. But it's million.
That
not
gives us
100.
5.5. That's 5.5 million kilometers per minute, and
divided by 60.
Another 60. That is. Sorry, I'm trying to read all the zeros off. 92,000 kilometers per second.
That's
which
is
a
third of just under a third, about 25% of the speed of light. A quarter of the speed of light. Santa, and that's not allowing for the time that Santa has to stop at each house to deliver the gifts. So if you're going to add in a few seconds, because Santa's obviously moves incredibly fast himself. A few seconds for Santa to deliver each of the gifts at each house. You are pushing up to relativistic speeds that sleigh has to travel at to get Santa where he needs to go.
I'm sorry. I'm just doubling up the numbers. Yeah, you're correct. We're wait a minute. Kilometers per hour. That's centimeters.
Oh, hang on.
Come on, don't.
The speed of light's is in meters per second though, not kilometers per hour.
Yeah, it's
well, we're out by a factor of
million. Well, it's 10 to the 8. So, because I'm working here in decimal points because I was working originally in billions. So let me just multiply this by 10 to the power of
Gary
million,
reckons we're not taking this seriously enough. And Davros has asked if we take into account that Santa will need a negative drug test at least 72 hours before entering certain states.
Oh wow! Now my head's starting to hurt with too many numbers.
Anyway, we just messed up kilometers an hour and meters per second.
A speed of 92,000 kilometers per second. The speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second. So we are, yes, we're not far off being a third of the speed of light. Now,
about 25%.
Currently, without a warp drive, our fastest theoretical mode of travel is the interstellar solar sail, which would get us to about 0.1 C.
Well, Santa's just got some really good science.
30,000 kilometers per hour. We have to travel 3 times faster than the fastest proposed, just theoretical method of travel, let alone how fast we can actually get.
It's conceivable that an antimatter rocket could get up to about 20% of the speed of light. So that's conceivable, but that's still not quite fast enough for Santa. But let's just assume the best type of science that we could know now, if we could make the antimatter, it means that Santa's sleigh is powered by antimatter powered reindeer.
Actually, wait a minute. Maybe I've made a mistake because I just want to check my numbers. Because I did surface area was in millions of kilometers squared. So no, there was an extra 10 to the 3 that we were dividing by. Or that we
that's what I was wondering when we said about kilometers and per hour.
This is why I should have written all of the calculations down.
Yeah.
Thought I did this correctly. Sorry, I'm just... So by... Yes, so our answer actually is a little big. It's actually, if we're going to do this in kilometers per second, is 92 kilometers per second.
Okay, so 92...
Which is now actually
about
reasonable.
A tenth of the speed of light, which is feasible.
Yes. Now, at 92 kilometers per second...
Actually. It's
way less than that.
Way less than that, actually.
We're now actually at a speed that humans have reached before.
Yes, we're talking about a Voyager 1 type speed.
Voyager's 20 kilometers per second.
Not so.
92. There were 3 things I know that because I did a video
you did a video about
recently.
This the other day. Yeah.
There are 3 things that I know definitely have exceeded that speed. One was a manhole-covered launched by a nuke.
Yeah.
That one got to... Let me just check my notes. But I know the fastest we've got to is 200 kilometers per second. That was the Parker Solar Probe.
Yes.
Space Drag Race. Let's open this up. Scroll down to this really, really fast.
So, whilst you're working that out, Davros said, so if the sleigh is powered by dark matter and warps the time with wibbly-wobbly energy, it would be theoretically possible. Yes.
Well, we wouldn't even need to do that, because I think here we've got... so the manhole cover was actually 56 kilometers per second. The the second fastest object clocks in at 70 kilometers per second. The fastest object, though, is 201 kilometers per second. So we're going really, 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 really fast.
But not stupid fast.
But they're not speeds we haven't reached.
Yep.
Based on our incredibly rigorous maths.
Yeah. Anyone watching this later and goes back through and goes, Matt made an error? Probably.
Yes. Many.
And I mean, already in the chat, Verillian's saying 92 kilometers per second is 92,000 meters per... 92,000? Yes, 92,000 meters per second. So we're looking at about 1% or just under the speed of light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're reachable
which is
speeds.
reachable and we're not at... But...
here's the other thing too, is that because we're well under 10% the speed of light, we don't need to worry at this stage about relativity.
No, but we
don't
need to worry about
time dilation.
Oh, we did. Well, only a little bit though at that speed, but we do need to worry about what Brilliant has just said. What is the average distance between houses, and what would the G-force be to start and stop? Because you now have to you cannot assume instant acceleration.
Yes. Because so we're at 92 kilometers per second.
Yeah.
Averaging between houses. Well, so that's our average speed, and our distance between the houses that we figured out. Let me just check. Was
5 and a bit kilometers.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, we rounded off to 5. It rounds off to 5 quite nicely because of our numbers and the amount of assumptions we've done. I think we only need to work to one significant figure here because we have no more accuracy than that.
Oh, we have got bugger all.
So but if we're averaging, and let's say we accelerate the whole way to reduce the G-forces. Let me do it. So we've got to go. If we need to average that, which means the final velocity needs to be twice that of the average the average, because we're going from 0 to
possibility though.
So we have to accelerate by 180 kilometers over 5 kilometers. So let me just figure out. Oh, sorry. Oh, this is not making it easy.
Oh, don't you wish Dr. Carl?
You need to get up to 180 kilometers over 5. Yeah, kilometers per second over 5 kilometers.
No, over half of that. Because you've got to decelerate at the other end. So you have.
Oh, come on. You have to double it by the middle, and then you got to decelerate.
Yep.
So we actually need to reach 4 times that speed in the middle. Because by the time you accelerate, if you're assuming even like just linear acceleration, deceleration, velocity, linear change in velocity, where you have to go about 4 times that speed because you're doing
as long as you're doing consistent acceleration or linear acceleration, then yes, you have to get 4 times the speed by the middle and then slow down, back down to nothing at the other end. So the rate of acceleration.
This is okay. Yeah, this is going to take me a little bit to get my calculations because I do not remember. While
we're doing that, so Belinda's asked what's. And I better pop this up. Belinda has asked what sleigh weight are we using for this calculation. We haven't got there yet.
Yes.
And what is the time it takes between houses? This is the bit that we will get to once we know how fast we are accelerating and decelerating. We can figure out the time between. Jeez. I'm sorry I'm letting you do all the math here, Matt.
That's fine. Sorry, it's just one of those formulas I've used so many times but don't remember it off the top of my head. Oh, that's right. S equals ut plus a half at squared, which is useful because we can assume our starting velocity is 0. So s is the distance that we are accelerating over. So, oh no, because that's got no. I don't actually care about that one. No, I don't care about that one. That's not the one we want because that needs time. I want the one without time. And So we actually, yeah, no, we want v squared equals u squared plus 2as, and we're going to solve for a. Now, it's useful because we can assume u is 0. Sorry, let me do this, and once I've nerded out for a bit with a pen,
we'll go on.
Because it's not something I can do in my head, even though it's relatively simple compared to a lot of the other stuff I've done. And I just realized I don't actually have suitable paper. Oh no, I do. There's one in the drawer. Never mind. Let me get out some post-it note sizes pieces of paper, and I'll do this because it doesn't take. It's only a line of working. Because basically, v squared equals 2as.
Yeah, and Gary's saying warp drives and time tunnels clearly.
All right, so the velocity, because we did determine is 92 kilometers per second, and I should have also got my calculator out at the same time, but I didn't. But this is going to be insane because
it's crazy.
The velocity gets squared. So
we do like the smart people in chat, Davros. You're allowed to correct us. That's perfectly fine. But if I interrupt Matt too much when he's doing the calculations, he's gonna lose it a little bit.
Oh, I'm gonna make mistakes. I am gonna make mistakes, but that's all right. Here.
Davros, if you want to join us, we're more than happy to have people hop in and join us and stuff and that. So if you want a link, Davros, I will send you one. I've also sent Jeff a link if you want to hop in. You don't want Davros here?
Okay. No. That's not what I was doing. I got my answer for our acceleration.
Oh, okay. What's our acceleration?
Our acceleration is 1.7 million kilometers per second squared.
That's a lot of Mach. That's a lot of G-forces.
We've got 2.5 kilometers to accelerate to 4 times 92 kilometers per second. So we're basically doing 360 kilometers per second that we're accelerating to over 2.5 kilometers. So yeah, those numbers do actually make sense. Now, that probably doesn't mean a lot to people, so I'll actually do that in G-force, but just let me write this down.
Okay,
so that's one
children out there, Mr. Scummer here is sadly delusioned. We all know that Santa is real, and he brings presents to the little children.
Yes. So, again, we're assuming no magic here, so this is us trying to do this without magic. But let me just do this as G-forces. So if we want to do this as a G-force, it's 172,000 Gs. For comparison, the highest number of Gs a human has ever been exposed to and survived.
It's about 9.
Was 40.
Was 40, was it? Okay.
Yeah. So, and they lost consciousness, broke several ribs.
Although, having said that,
I believe their arm.
Let's make an assumption here that Santa has been around for quite a long time and is still happening. So he's either a family or maybe he's not human. I mean, that could scientifically be possible. Santa could be an alien who's stuck on Earth and loves kids. So maybe, and that would explain his better technology. So maybe, just maybe, Santa can survive these huge G-forces. Maybe that's why he's so chubby.
So in which case...
Maybe it's a special padded suit that protects him from...
So I think in this case, we probably now need to start incorporating other technology that makes this slightly more possible. Or, actually, what if he doesn't need to slow down at all?
Ooh.
What if we do things like on the...
So he's got special parachutes for the gifts and they go in and they deliver. But I have a problem with this. And that my problem is kids leave out milk and cookies for Santa and Santa drinks milk and eats the cookies, which also has an entire another problem for the Science of Santa later on, but...
Well, he wouldn't need to eat for the rest of the year.
Yeah, he goes into hibernation. You see, that makes sense, because it's winter. He waits all the way up to Christmas, And then he lives in the northern hemisphere, so he goes into hibernation, and his body, which is another sign that he's not human.
Now I've got those big numbers in my head, and I'm trying to think what would be the most practical way to travel at those speeds, and there isn't one. A warp drive would probably do it, but now we then would need to consider energy sources for that. So, Jen, what do you think is the most likely method of transport at these velocities and
these
accelerations?
Velocities. Well, no, they wouldn't. Yeah, to get those sort of accelerations, you'd have to. Because, all our propulsion systems work on for every action. There's an equal and opposite reaction. So we throw stuff out the back, and that makes things go forward. So, if you're powering it by rocket reindeer farts, basically, and I know kids love the term fart, then I think you're having to look at some sort of nuclear-powered reindeer at this point to get those sort of velocities. Especially with that level of acceleration.
That might explain a few things about Rudolph.
Yeah, why he's got a red nose.
The glowing nose. Now, but here's the thing, it's red. And you don't get any bioluminescence that is red, but you can get other colors. But if it is a nuclear-powered reindeer, you can actually take the blue light and convert it into red light. So for every blue photon, you can get 2 red photons. So he'd have a very bright red nose. But
you'd also
you'd need an extra layer to convert the colors.
You'd also have the fact that Santa is moving so fast that if any kid did actually manage to see them, it's probably after Santa's left. And at that point, you're going to have redshift. So the light
moving away. So
the light that's coming, that you're seeing from there, will be redshifted, which might turn the blue into red, and even the blue effect of the nuclear radiation around because contrary to what South Park tells you, radiation that comes off reactors is blue, not green. But all of that would be redshifted because Santa's now moving away from you because you'd never see him coming. He's going too fast. You'd only see him after he leaves. So you're seeing Santa going away, and that would redshift everything, and that could easily explain why the blue radiation off the reindeer could be seen as red, and hence Rudolph having a red nose.
So maybe it's Rudolph the blue-nosed reindeer.
Yeah. Rudolph the blue-nosed reindeer.
I wonder what his rest mass is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. We've sorted it out.
You want to talk about rest mass. Rest mass. How light do these reindeers and sleigh have to be? Because he lands it on people's roofs. Now, I don't know about you, but sleighs are quite heavy. And if it's laden with toys, even if you had to... even if we had to do pickup stations around the world and toys are pre-delivered and Santa goes there, okay, we're making him have to accelerate a bit faster. But now we're talking about speeds where he's going to have to do it anyway.
This is why I don't think he has to. He's landing. I don't think he can land.
Well, I guess it's possible if you've got an engine like this. There's no reason. Yeah, but how? I mean, we're now talking about making the sleigh hover.
Or it circles and he goes down and comes back to it, and it doesn't. And then you got some momentum to go off, which would reduce some of the numbers.
And then when he comes back up, his momentum's still going, and he matches it with the sleigh, so he can hop back in, which is why he can deliver the presents so quickly and not waste so much time. Of course, in houses where you don't have chimneys for him to be able to do that with, there's a bit more of a problem, but let's just assume every house does, because we've assumed so much else so far.
What if Santa can shrink himself down and then can just quantum tunnel through the walls and the roofs? And he can get in and out very quickly. Because we're dealing with quantum mechanics. We don't need to worry as much about velocities because you can actually exceed the speed of light in some senses.
I'm going to catch up with the chat a bit because Jeff put in rocket reindeer farts killed the dinosaurs according to Matt Powell. So and Davros says Santa projects his own gravitational field that warps the space around him and then causes leaps in time. We're trying to do that without time travel because there's no...
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the point on time travel. It doesn't help. It will always make our situation
Just
worse.
Which was the discussion Matt and I had last night, because I said, oh, if he's moving fast enough, you get relativity effects coming in, and goes, that makes it worse because time moves slower for Santa. He gets even less time to deliver presents in. So
so basically, yeah. So when it comes to relativity, the best we can do is make it, from your perspective, if you're looking out, the best you can do is make everything else go in fast forward.
Yeah.
Which doesn't help here, because we're not accelerating the Earth. So the best we can do for Santa is make the world go faster, but that doesn't help, so we just don't want it to change. Which is why at these speeds, these average velocities, we don't need to worry about it too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm thinking we've got an insanely fast thing. We've got nuclear-powered reindeer, and we've got a Santa who can quantum tunnel without losing too much velocity, so that way we don't need to worry about the acceleration.
Maybe that's how he gets into the houses from the sleigh.
Yeah, because not everyone has a chimney.
Yeah, not everyone has a chimney, and he quantum tunnels from the sleigh into the house, delivers the presents, and quantum tunnels back. He has some way of controlling quantum tunneling. I mean, we've given him lots of other things.
Okay. So then, which would then mean we don't have to worry about the weight on people's roofs. But now we need to think about, okay, are we thinking one toy per person? If the average household has 4.9 people, we've rounded off to five people. Then you assume 2 adults and the rest are kids.
Yeah.
I think that's a fairly safe assumption.
So we're talking at least 3 presents. But most kids get a couple of presents from Santa, so maybe we're talking 6.
Yeah.
Shall we go with 6?
Why don't we round to 10? Let's round to 10 because it's a nicer number. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's round to 10.
Yeah, but one of the kids only gets 2 presents and the other one.
Well, yes, but averaging here.
No, one gets 4 and the other 2 get 3. So one kid was a little nicer than the others. Or
one of them gets 8 and the other 2 get 1 each. No. Because
this used to happen when I was a kid. They get 3 presents each and a shared family present from Santa. Let's be nice about it. Shared family present.
That works well.
That works. Okay, so we're making a very nice Santa who does that.
Yeah, well,
Aunt Jess says that maybe there's more than one Santa, and
Santa could subcontract. But that actually, and that does make things easy at the end, because then we can just divide final numbers and the maths will work out because the multiplications and divisions carry through. So that's an easy one to do at least. But okay, so if it's 10 presents, what do you think the average weight of a present is? Because I think we can assume the wrapping doesn't weigh anything. I know that's not true, but compared to the weight of the presents. My stuff is still wrapped, so...
There you go.
Well, so still in packaging.
He moved. You want one, Matt, don't you? Woolworths, $15.
It's not bad.
I thought it was. That's my present to me this year.
Apparently there were Woolies in a lot of other countries, and then we took it up separately to their brand. Like America had a Woolies and the UK had a Woolies, and we're the other ones still going because it worked really well here and everywhere else it didn't. That's a separate point though. Okay, so...
A little over half a kilo for this one.
Okay. Do you want to average half a kilo then?
Yeah, let's average half a kilo.
Because that gives us a nice 5 kilos per household.
Yeah.
And that's, if you think about giving presents to kids, that's actually not too unreasonable. 5 kilos isn't super heavy. It's it's like a good shopping haul that you're taking home, but it's not.
Jeff just said we had to take into account an awful lot of naughty children. We already did. We said 50%.
Yes, we're only visiting half the households.
And Aunt Jess said a shared family present is a bidet. I don't know why, but your Christmases must have been interesting.
Yes. Mummy, it's my turn with the present from Santa. That's not, okay, so we got 5 kilos
Gary
per
says
household.
Santas are cloned. It explains why we see so many of them in every shopping center.
Now, yes, that would make sense.
Cloned Santas?
Now,
yeah, that would certainly help.
Yes. Now, if we're delivering to 800 million houses, because it was 1.6, and we're assuming half of them, so it's 800 million houses, times 5, that gives us 4 billion kilos that we need to carry with us.
That's a lot of weight.
Yes. Now, what is the mass of the Earth bike? Oh, actually, no, it wouldn't
it's going to be a lot less than that. So.
Yeah.
It's a small asteroid.
So 4 billion kilos, but we can let's go down to 4 billion tons. Because that's a little easier to work with.
Yeah, and I mean, that's manageable, but now you're talking about the size of an asteroid?
Yes. Also, for comparison, the largest battleship ever built was 70,000 tons.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're talking
and
about...
Now we're
talking about we do not want Santa to crash his sleigh because we've got an extinction level event.
So maybe we do...
That much speed and that much mass, you have an extinction level of some... Sorry, children. Santa is not crashing his sleigh. Santa is magical and he can't crash his sleigh. He has shields.
He's a good pilot.
And he's a very good pilot, yeah. But our Santa, who's not magical, could crash his sleigh. That could be a concern. Not only that, he's got nuclear-powered reindeer. If he crashes the sleigh...
Oh, that's quite the fallout.
Yeah.
Because that's not just like one Chernobyl, that's 12.
Yep.
Although it's 8 if you go by original numbers. Because there was originally only 8 reindeer and they added an extra. No, is it 12? No, Rudolph's the odd one out.
Yep. Okay, we have a question from Brilliant. Assuming a glass of milk is 250 milliliters and a pair of cookies is 25 grams, how much does Santa eat by weight? That is a damn good question to ask. Because this changes the mass.
Right, so,
his mass by the end of it.
That's... well, I'm going to make the assumption that the milk and water have the same weight. So, 1 milliliter is 1 gram.
Yeah.
So that would make it 25. So that actually gives us 200,000 grams of milk.
Santa has a bladder problem.
Which is... So we're talking about 200 kilos of milk in a night.
And we're going to ignore the carrots.
I've done that math. I feel like I'm off.
Yeah.
So, because that's 800 million.
But we're going to ignore the carrots for the reindeers. I don't mean to be nasty to the reindeers, but the calculations are complex enough as it is. That being Santa's mathematicians is just really, really hard work, children.
It's in kilos. No, kilos, sorry.
Yeah.
200 million kilos.
Several tons.
So that's 200,000 tons. So we weigh the equivalent of 3 of the world's largest battleships worth of milk. That's ignoring the cookies at this stage, but...
yeah. The cookies will add another... another 1/8.
Oh no! I did the cookie. Yeah, so, no, they're 1 order of magnitude less, so it's actually 2.22. So 0.22 million kilograms. And so we'll divide. So that's.
And to answer Belinda's question, it's irrelevant whether he actually drinks it all and eats it all at the same time, or whether he has a bag that he and a little thermos, an enormous thermos he pours the milk into, and a little baggie for all his goodies, so he can eat them over the course of the year. Regardless of how he does it, it's still the same weight. So we don't have to assume he eats it all, but we are assuming he takes them.
Yes. So
although,
we are dealing with.
we do know that sometimes Santa bites a cookie and doesn't actually finish eating them, and only drinks a bit of the milk. So we could possibly halve this figure because Santa doesn't always eat them. Also,
right. So that's actually So that gives us a rough equivalent. Let me find a picture that is actually appropriate. So because I'm thinking this in terms of battleship hulls. So because I like my history, I'm just going to briefly share.
yeah.
So there we go. There's not actually many pictures of this, and I have no idea if it's working or not. There we go.
Yep.
Actually, I can now see that. So that there is a picture of the world's largest ever battleship. That was 70,000 tons. So we got two of those. It's about 140, which would be about 140,000 tons, which is about how much weight Santa consumes. Now,
or
this is
brings
solid
with him
iron
that he takes from the houses. We're not saying he has to eat it all in one go, but he does take it. So,
but yeah, so we're dealing with like two of these things.
Gary just asked, have we factored in the time that he takes kissing Mummy? I would assume that Santa does not kiss all the mummies. The mummy would have to be awake at the time and all that. So, yeah, I think we can ignore that one. And we're giving artistic license to the writer of the song as well, because it may never have happened at all. So, I think we'll ignore the kissing of mummies.
I think maybe if we're talking about quantum tunneling, we can assume it happens almost simultaneously with that.
That must be disappointing for the mummies.
Yeah. Although that's also giving us we've got to, I think, assume that these house visits are pretty much simultaneous with the sled moving. Otherwise, we have even more problems for time.
I've got a point to get to later on that there's actually very applicable to this, and that's the concept of simultaneity within quantum mechanics, and we're already giving Santa quantum abilities. There's no reason he couldn't, if he can behave like an electron or other subatomic particle and quantum tunnel between areas, there's no reason he can't be almost everywhere in the universe at once, given that that's a conceivable probability within quantum mechanics. So, and therefore he could deliver everything all at once.
Yes, but the problem is the actual probability of doing that is so significantly small, or so insignificant, that I think we can assume that we're only talking about the most likely outcomes, which is what he's designed to do, and that's to deliver the presents,
to tunnel between the sleigh and the
milk
house.
And cookies and move. Okay, so we've got 4 billion kilograms. We have G-forces of 170,000.
Yep.
And now we have two giant super battleships worth of milk and cookies that he's taking on. So that
and
that
the
covers,
nuclear-powered
all
reindeer. This is an accident waiting to happen.
Yes, although maybe you could actually use the milk from the cookies as shielding for a nuclear disaster.
Oh, because the mass of the fluid would absorb the because fluid is an awesome
which actually then maybe that's why he takes the milk.
Yeah, to help
maybe
shield
he takes
the reactors
the milk to actually help protect the reindeers. So it is 12 reindeers. No, because it's 12 plus Rudolph, because Rudolph's the odd one out.
Is it 12?
Sorry?
Can somebody tell us the name
it was
of all
originally
the reindeers
8.
in the chat? Because I can't. That's what I thought it was 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So in
plus
the night
reindeer,
before
which
Christmas,
is 9.
it's 8, but Rudolph doesn't exist.
Yes.
And we're assuming that he's now around,
which makes
because
9.
Of course he can get more reindeer.
Not Rudolph. 12. 8 plus 1 is 9.
9. I don't know why I have 12 in my head. Yes, I know, but I thought there was other ones that were added in between. Possibly. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm thinking of something else then. There's the night before Christmas, actually, I think is the first place where they're named from memory. And that one is where they...
Belinda's asked, have we factored in...
It's like on, Donna, on, Dancer, on, Blitz.
Oh, I can never remember that poem.
Sorry?
Yeah,
there
9
we
reindeers.
go.
Donna, Dancer,
thanks,
Prancer,
Gary.
Vixen, Comet, Cupid,
yeah.
Donna, Blitzen, and Rudolph.
Okay, so they've added Rudolph at the end. So it's on Donner and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, on Comet and Cupid, Donner and Blitzen. So it's done in the poem stuff.
Belinda has said here, have we factored in the time it takes for him to say ho 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 and jingle his bells in every house? It wouldn't take too long.
But he can do that as he's going past.
Yeah. So as soon as he gets there, he goes ho ho ho, jingles his bell, drops the presents, and then quantum tunnels back up to the sleigh. So I think this is doable. Just. Thanks, Aunt Jo, by the way, for dealing with the bots in the chat.
Oh, is that a bot?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't done live streams myself yet, not run them, so I'm not as familiar. Oh, that helps. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm thinking of the weight.
Because the amount of fuel.
How
does this thing even fly?
Oh, you don't need much fuel. If we got nuclear, we've got a lot of energy. Because again, I think when we spoke about nuclear, we've actually assumed that we're dealing with fission. But again, Santa could, because we've been talking about theoretical technologies.
We've given him theoretical
so he could even have fusion.
Yep.
There's no reason he can't have giant lasers inside the reindeer and is doing form of light pressure fusion. I just like the idea of lasers, but you can pick any fusion, but that's the one I want to go with.
Verillion has asked us, can we calculate the power output required, which I think is what we're kind of getting to now when we're talking about the mass of the object. So, yeah.
So, the thing is, if we're getting to a constant speed and ignoring air resistance, we can assume... I think we can make a few assumptions as to how that's going to go. Well,
Gary, we've already assumed Santa's an alien because that's the only way that Santa survives the G-forces.
Yeah. No, that was before we decided screw the G-forces. We're just going to keep the sleigh moving and heal quantum tunnel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but I mean, if you said he's circling, he's still going to encounter G-forces when he's circling.
True, unless it happens almost instantaneously. So quantum tunnels in and then out and then back up. That's the only other one I can think of.
We're assuming a staggered quantum tunnel because he's got a set distance that he can quantum tunnel over.
Yeah, and so he knows where he's going to be back to the sleigh, and you can.
Okay, well, we will assume that is possible because we're making a lot of assumptions here.
I think that was always going to have to be the case.
So basically, what we've got is we've got the sleigh basically doing running itself in what would be a circumpolar orbit and slowly processing around the planet.
Yes, so we have
not fairly close to the surface of the Earth, which the sonic boom from this is going to be horrendous.
Yes, because we got 4 billion kilometers to go. So let me just make a basic assumption here about these. So let's assume that we actually get to double the velocity we set. Because it's 4 billion kilometers that we need to go. What's the acceleration we need? What did we say? So it's 4 billion kilometers.
Yeah.
Give me a few seconds. I need to redo some calculations because I've got them.
Which is fine.
Actually, no, have I still got them up?
In the meantime...
No, never mind. I still actually have the number up in front of me.
Well,
so
I'll read
I'm going to also round
first.
off once again, and instead of 95 kilometers per second, I'm going to say 100, because that means that our final speed, and this also gives us a bit of room to maneuver for slowing down here and there, is actually double that at 200 kilometers, and then we're going to accelerate linearly across the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we need to get 200... million kilometers per hour. So it's let me actually use brackets here. So that's 200 times 10 to the 6 per million, isn't it? Sorry, I'm always bad with those decimal places. 2 times, and then the distance we're doing it is actually 4 billion, which is 10 to the 9. So I'm used to actually using prefixes than this.
Yeah. I will just read out what Stool said, which is Santa has a very hefty sack, therefore magic gravity, not science. We've already said that Santa must be magical, and we're as we've said to the children, everything we say here does not apply to the wonderful magical Santa that you get every single year at Christmas. This is purely us hypothesizing about a more scientifically based Santa, even if our Santa is now an alien with advanced technologies that we are only just now starting to think are possible. But that's fine.
Oh no, oops, I forgot a number. I forgot a square. I was wondering why that looked too small.
And apparently the Gary and Triple D are saying that battered toast to a cat would be the most likely power source. Buttered.
What?
Not battered. Buttered toast strapped to a cat would be the most likely power source. Yeah,
maybe that's our fusion pellet. That's what we're fusing.
Oh, yeah, imagine that hit
it's
by
actually
lasers.
5. Our acceleration is still insane because we got to get up to 200 kilometers per second.
Yeah.
So if I've done the maths correctly and converted these to meters properly, we have to accelerate at 5 times 10 to the 6 meters per second squared.
Wow.
Yeah. Although, is that... Wait a minute. I want to see. Is that better than before?
By the way, Davros, I did send you a link if you want to join us.
I've made a mistake somewhere. Sorry, I've made a mistake somewhere because that's too small.
So, Davros, I know you're sitting there in chat. If you want to hop in and have a chat and join us and increase the scientific knowledge here, you're more than welcome. I did send you a link on the Twitter. Same for Stool. If you want to hop in, Stool, I'll if I haven't already, I'll send you a link.
Oh no, that might make sense. So I'm doing things in kilometers.
So how is everyone in chat's Christmas going? At the lead up going? For me, it's insane, and Christmas isn't my most favorite time of the year. I find it's all too busy. I hate the commercialism of it. Spending a little bit of time with family is great, but the commercialism of Christmas drives me insane. Garrett said you'll never become a doctor with all these mistakes.
My PhD is not in maths. Yes, I can use maths, but I normally have computers.
Which is why I probably should have been doing the maths. I'm sorry, Matt.
That's all right.
Not that mine's a PhD.
It's also it's a lot. So many numbers floating around, and my brain is not in the mood after this week of actually doing PhD to do proper maths. So I was trying to make shortcuts, and now I've lost track of units.
Hey, Davros.
Hi.
How is
Just dropping
ya?
in quickly. I need to know if Matt understands the buttered toast cat analogy.
Not really.
Yeah, I'm lost with that a bit too.
Okay, so what happens to your buttered toast? What happens to buttered toast when it falls off the table?
It always lies.
Oh, yes, because it always flips upside down. But if the cats always land on their feet, so you strap them the other way around. There we go.
Perpetual motion, yeah.
Perpetual motion machine. There you go. All you need to do, whack in a bit of fishing, right? So you keep the cat alive and dead at the same time.
Whack a bit of fish in. Yeah, I get that. It's a fishing engine. That sounds like an episode of Rick and Morty.
Well, it's also the fact that you've made a couple of fundamental flaws in all your equations here, right? Yeah. So you failed to take into account the Futurama Star Trek equation.
Okay.
Okay, so the Planet Express ship uses dark matter to bend space-time around itself, so the ship doesn't actually move. The space
universe
around it
moves around it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, all they have to do is jump into the subspace conduits or fluidic space, and they can be anywhere they want to instantaneously using the Borg's mapping system.
Okay. Look,
Is
we're
that
not
meant to make sense to us?
It does if it's a whole heap of different science fiction jargon.
You guys are
thrown together.
trying. You guys are actually trying to mathematically work out how Santa works.
Yeah,
and you're asking me if I'm serious.
We're trying to work out if at the extremes of physics, at the extreme of our physics knowledge, is Santa at all possible with our actual knowledge of physics?
Multiverse Santas. Done.
Davros wins the night.
It is.
It's a multiverse.
But the thing is, we haven't yet got to the point of saying there could be multiple Santas. We haven't got there yet.
No, we haven't got to that.
Although I think I have. Although apparently to accelerate to our, although now I'm even doubting this number, to accelerate to our 200 kilometers per second.
Yeah,
we have 4 billion kilometers to do it over, because it's 5 kilometers per house, and we're visiting 800 million households, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because it was 1.6 billion households in the world, and we're going to half of them. So that gives us 4 billion kilometers.
Yeah.
That we're accelerating over, and we've got to get to 200 kilometers per second, which is 200,000 meters per second. So if I've done these calculations correct, the number that's come back is 20 meters per second squared. But that now seems on the low end.
Are you sure you shouldn't
That's
be in kilometers per second?
Well, the thing is that... But the thing is, I converted both of the units back to meters.
Oh, okay.
To put into the equation. Because we had a squared on the top, and so it was just easier for me to put 10 to the 3 and then square that rather than do 10 to the 6, which, yes, in hindsight is the same thing. But, and then just put, instead of, 4, yes. Oh, no, that's in kilometers. Yes, no, you're right.
Yeah, it's in kilometers per second. All right.
I need to add an extra 3 to the...
acceleration is conceivable, and it's conceivable for a human to survive.
It's only, what is that, 20,000 meters a second, isn't it? If you've not converted it correctly.
Survive that.
Sorry?
You sure?
How
do you know? Have you been there?
The maximum a human can survive is 40 Gs. And even then they nearly died.
That's what you say.
40 Gs is...
No, it's... That's
what your books say.
What's a G is about 800 kilometers a second. It's 800 meters per second at sea level. Is that right?
No, it's A plus G on G.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah. What am I doing? I was thinking. You know what my brain just did, because it's Saturday night. It just confused Mark and G.
Did you forget gravity? Did you
I did.
Gravity?
No, I just did something really, really stupid.
What's 1G mean?
The acceleration at the surface of the Earth due to gravity.
There you go. Well done.
I know what it is.
2G is what?
Don't know what I did. 2 times.
Do you know what I just realized? There is a significantly easier way to figure out this acceleration. I know how long.
He says that now. You guys have been doing this for an hour and a half.
Marillion has done the equation for us. You don't need to accelerate 200 kilometers a second, though, do you? Or is it part of that 92 kilometers?
Yes, I know. I made a second.
Yeah. And we forgot the butter, apparently. And people said, while you people are wasting your time on this prattle, I'm having a serious discussion with Nerder. You wrote in about the advantages of rotary action cats.
See, I'm the better engineer.
Maybe we should have this discussion about rotary action cats. Let's get.
This is.
I think we've gotten to the point that if Santa's suit is in some way So Santa looks so big because his suit is designed to protect him from extensive G-forces. We now have the ability to accelerate to those speeds. If we give him quantum tunneling, it is conceivably possible that a real physical Santa could deliver those presents. I mean, he might not be alive at the end of it, but it is possible.
Has Matt actually equated for the gravitons within this equation? I don't think he has.
Yeah. I don't know. But, okay, look, we've done this part of the maths. Do you agree, Matt? Do you agree, Triple D, that it's conceivably, at the very extremes of what we know of science now, it is conceivably possible?
But what would his sleigh have to be made out of to withstand that speed?
Well, no, it's not the speed. It's not the problem. It's the acceleration. A bigger problem, though, would be we're also assuming he's doing this in an atmosphereless planet. Because as soon as we add the atmosphere in, then we have a problem. We not only have a problem for this, what the sleigh would have to be made out of because of how hot it is. We have a problem with how much he's actually going to heat up the atmosphere whilst he's going around the planet at this speed.
Oh, hope he doesn't. Oh, hope he doesn't go up to where there's like helium and stuff either. Right? Because
he'd be less buoyant.
No. Because no. But if he ends up splitting those helium atoms, we could have a problem.
Fusion in the atmosphere. No. We may have a problem here.
Well, what could be even worse is the fact that if he starts splitting water molecules within the atmosphere and then bursts a couple of hydrogen atoms, I mean, that could be catastrophic.
Well, it's more about the fusion when you're dealing with hydrogen than splitting anything, though, isn't it?
Well, that's how you get the bubbles in beer. I mean...
Oh, that's an obscure
Jen knows what I'm talking
reference.
about.
That is such an obscure reference. Yeah.
If only Matt was 10 years
They
old.
were only beer atoms, but that's how we got the bubbles in beer.
For some reason, I'm not getting the maths correct, or I'm getting correct and I don't like the answer. Because every time I look at what I'm typing in, I'm not happy with it. Because you just see 200 kilometers per second.
Okay, Aurelian said, "Well, that's less heat than the flood would have created, right?" Yeah, probably less heat than the flood would have created. Because we're already talking about 24 hours of this, and it's not quite as much mass as the flood needed. Although it is a lot of mass, we are talking about an asteroid-sized sleigh being propelled around the Earth, not too far off the surface, at an appreciable speed of a fraction of the speed of light. I don't know, only 1% of it, but that's still bloody quick.
Yeah, until Matt agrees with himself on the number he keeps failing to produce. Say we're doing 20,000 meters per second.
I have concerns.
Yeah, what would happen?
No, it's 200,000.
Oh, geez, that's even worse. Because that's like, 60% the speed of light. Yeah, if it's 200,000 meters per second, but speed of light's 300,000 kilometers per second, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're only talking about like 1%.
It's 3 times 10 to the 8, and we're here is 3 times 10 to the 5. So there's
there's
3 orders of magnitude.
Yeah, it's one
thousandth
of the speed
of light.
That's still appreciable amount of the speed of light, though.
But see, here's the thing. I know we've got to get... So it's actually 92 kilometers per second, but I'm assuming that if we accelerate steady for the whole thing, let's just assume we get to double the speed. So that's 200 kilometers per second, or 200,000 meters per second that we need to get to, and we have 24 hours to do it, which means that we have 3,600 seconds to do it, which is why my answer keeps seeming too big. Actually, maybe not.
But you haven't added in the daylight savings, negative savings, plus the tangential speed at the equator compared to at the pole. Yeah, you're missing that in your equation to begin with.
Do you have a death wish?
Yes.
Also, yeah, Santa doesn't have to do Russia because Babushka does Russia. So
is it Babushka?
I thought Ceausescu did Russia.
Sorry, I'm not adding that into the equation, and that would confuse children anyway. So we're not doing that.
We've already left out half the households. We'll just say
I think
that
we're fine.
That.
That includes them. Yeah. And I mean,
anyway,
he doesn't have to deliver to
at
anyone.
least my bottle is somewhat Christmassy because it's actually green. You just can't.
Actually, I've got to say something rather controversial right now. What about the children that don't identify as kids?
What if what?
Do they still? What if there are children that don't identify as children?
Kids. Well, there are kids who declare that they don't believe in Santa and do not want Santa to deliver them gifts, and Santa doesn't.
Yeah, we'll put them in the half.
They're in the half that don't get deliveries. Much like Jewish kids who believe in Kwanzaa or something like that. There's whatever. No, that's the wrong thing. Kwanzaa is not the same. That is what's the Jewish thing with dreidels?
Dreidel.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's stuck in my head now.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Andre wants to know, are the multi-Santas part of a union, and do they take scheduled breaks? Shall we move on from this idea? Because I think we're getting to the point that it may be physically possible to have a sleigh that could do this if you had a quantum tunneling Santa. But you might have problems with how do you get that much mass moving within an atmosphere? How do you stop that from heating up the atmosphere significantly? What happens to a child if toys fall off the back of the sleigh and land on somebody going at those sort of velocities? And
they're just going to hit you like a cannonball.
Yeah.
Being hit by a present falling off this sleigh is going to be harder than being hit by a railgun projectile because they're 2.4 kilometers per second and we're going nearly
above all of
4 times that.
And above all of that, if Santa crashes his sleigh, it is an extinction level event. Nuclear powered reindeers, all an asteroid worth of mass, and yeah, imagine all that. That's one hell of an eggnog with all that milk.
Yeah, but just imagine all those PS5s and Xboxes and graphics cards. Oh, that's right, you can't get any of them.
Yeah, no one's getting that for Christmas.
I was
sorry, kids,
because that's the one thing I do want to upgrade on my computer is the graphics card,
and you just can't.
And I've just been looking at going, this is so not worth it. It's just insane. But I walked into one of the offices at uni this week. I walk in and I was just chatting because I needed to ask my postdoc something. And then over on the bench, I see a discarded box because they've got there's a lot of people around me that do computational stuff. And he's got a full, like almost gaming style computer set up for that. And I see the empty box with 3080 written on the top. And it's an NVIDIA GeForce, like the RTX 3080.
That's a $2,500 graphics card in Australia.
If that, and I just turned to my postdoc. I'm like, where the hell did he get that from? And my postdoc's like, yeah, I want one too, but no, he got it before the demand. He got it very early. He kind of pre-ordered it.
Oh, so like it's pre-release, yeah.
So, Beryllium wants us to do the kinetic energy of it, which is 1/2 mass times velocity squared. So,
that's easy.
How many joules is this?
So this thing, I'll do it very quickly because it's 1/2 times. Well, we know we got 4 billion kilos, so that's 4 times 10 to the 9. Multiplied by, and I'll have to do this in meters. So it's 92,000 meters per second squared, all squared. This is 1.7 times 10 to the 19 joules.
That's
kinetic energy.
Okay, how many joules of energy hit the Earth from the
Chicxulub.
sun every
What
every
about
second?
Chicxulub? What was that?
I forget my calculations because I did help Dr. Carl with how much energy that released. Let me see if I can. I don't think I've got those notes though.
Like if you're gonna have Santa create an extinction level event, like Chicxulub's the only
Thanks,
relevant thing we've got.
Well, how many joules of energy was Chicxulub? Yeah.
Give me a second. I may have these numbers, but I've got to try and find stuff in archive.
Okay,
that's where I did those calculations.
You could Google it. Seriously.
I want to use my own numbers because I've done the work before.
I just have to say it's enjoyable watching people who excel at a topic get immersed in that topic and enjoy themselves. And this is fun. I mean, for us, hypothetically looking at this is actually fun. It's also a lot more maths than I think Matt or I were actually intending on doing. So Deborah, it's about this cat thing. I have 3 cats. Yes. I'm prepared to make it to an experiment.
You'd need a cob loaf because it needs to be almost the same shape as the cat because it needs to sort of wrap around its back.
You need that even.
I got it. So I did actually do the reset. So I've got the So it's actually not too bad because we've got different ranges for the amount of energy that Chicxulub imparted.
Okay.
And I'm just going over what the ranges are. It's a lot of atomic bombs.
Mm-hmm. We just need the joules, dude.
Yes. So we're dealing with 10 to the 23 joules.
Oh, it's
actually slightly less.
A significant order of magnitude less. So...
Yeah, but mind you...
we'd have damage, but probably not an end of Earth thing. Unless the sleigh crashes. Because then at those speeds... Because we're dealing with something that is now faster than most asteroids move at.
And also, how many presents have been delivered?
Oh, well, if the sleigh crashes at the end, it's a lot better because the sleigh's a lot lighter.
Mm-hmm.
So it does depend.
And also, you've offloaded the coal, so that's a good thing.
No, we ignored the coal. We're not doing coal because Santa was told he's not allowed to by the EPA.
But doesn't Alec Baldwin always get a lump of coal for
Tunguska
Christmas?
was 2 times 10 to the 15 joules, according to Verillion. I'll pop that up. So we're looking at something between the orders of magnitude of Tunguska and Chicxulub. So an intermediate, and then that's just it flowing around the Earth. That's not great. Yes. That's houses getting knocked over territory. We might not kill the human race, but it's not good.
No, this is... Okay, let me just bring up my numbers again. I do believe this is several orders of magnitude bigger than the Tsar bomber, which is the largest nuclear device that's ever been detonated at 50 megatons.
However, it will be significantly less than that because we're assuming Well, no, I think you could say that the massive stuff that Santa picks up partially offsets the massive stuff he's delivering. Although not quite, because it's a lot less mass he's picking up. So, but you could probably average it out to being about half the total launch mass is the mass that you could be at any point that's going around the Earth.
But the angle is significant.
So you could probably lose a couple of orders of magnitude off that, which would bring it back to about Tunguska size, Matt.
Yeah, but you're not coming in between like 80 and 90 degrees. You're coming in
No,
at
you're going
about
around.
like 15, 20 degrees if you're
and not very far off the ground.
Yeah.
So the sonic boom
Yes, but you're
alone would
still
destroy
going-
houses.
Yeah. So
This is not good.
I don't think there is. I don't think there is a way you can travel with a single object at this.
No, so we
I
are
just don't think
we
it's
have
possible.
to have a multi-Santa solution.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whether
I
it's
win.
He needs helpers or multiple versions of himself.
or clones or parallel universes or the problem
So
I have with
the
multiple
ability
universes is what happens with all those other universes if the Santa comes here to help deliver here. Don't they get their Christmas? So I like the clone one better.
like-
I think Santa having a clone army makes more sense.
Although if we have a multiverse thing, then when this Santa is not doing our presents the rest of the year, he can be helping the other Santas.
So are you suggesting there is 365 universes?
Well, there's
Well,
a time
366.
dilation between each universe.
But if you have
There is a
enough
time dilation.
universes, then you can just average things out and job them, and you can have shifts and rotations and maybe balance things out that way.
Okay. Well,
And
you
then
don't
just
even need
throwing a little
multiple
bit of string
universes. You could have
theory.
Santas on multiple planets.
Oh, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Look, what would happen to a Santa on
Although now we're
Jupiter?
giving Santa a
Seriously.
warp drive, so
I thought we'd almost already given him that.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
I don't think that's far out of it. Now, with perpetual fusion-powered laser motion
Cats.
machines
cat powered.
and reactors inside that's the perpetual
the
motion
machine.
part of it. Inside each of the reindeer, he's probably got the energy to run a warp drive.
Yeah.
Don't forget the toast.
I didn't. That's where
The
perpetual motion
perpetual
machines
motion.
come from.
Yeah, you know.
But we're boosting
Oh no, I
them
was
with
talking about for
laser-powered
breakfast.
Yeah, you're
fusion.
forgetting about your fission reactor.
Yes, the fish
We have a
in
fission
the
reactor
reactor.
Fish
powered
in
by
reactor.
cats with
Yeah.
toasts on them.
Yeah.
Not pate though. Can't know.
It doesn't work with
Oh.
pate because the cats don't like it.
No.
Yeah, then you have too
Get the
much
whiskers.
repulsive force, and the reindeers. No, I'm not going there. Where this is a family friendly.
Night, Gary.
Night, Gary.
Night, Gary.
Gary.
Welcome
Now
back.
I'm just
Kev.
thinking of SpongeBob.
So was I.
I still can't believe that SpongeBob got a don't drop the soap joke. I can speak. Joke into one of theirs with Gary.
Yeah.
How well?
Yes. You know Gary's hard, right?
Don't.
I thought
No,
I
I
was
don't mean.
getting close to what was allowed.
Yeah.
but
We're keeping this one clean, Davros. There are kids who might watch
No, I
this.
don't mean that way. I mean
Oh,
as in
okay.
a criminal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hardened criminal. Okay.
Whew, saved that one.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yes, but Davros, it is you.
Yeah,
Are
but see
you-
what having no mayhem does to me?
Well, this is your mayhem for tonight.
Oh, you're lucky.
Claire is in the chat. You can.
I know, my bear.
Where's Bear?
Wasn't joining here. She was too tired, so she might have fallen asleep. I don't know,
course.
but we love you, Claire.
Probably. Yes.
Probably.
To the sultry sounds of my voice.
So
Fallen asleep
so we're going
with
down
the
the.
headphones in and the playlist going because I've done that.
So we've
before.
made the decision.
I've
that
woken
whilst-
up and been like,
whilst the ship is physically possible, the dangers and all the other problems that it would do to the Earth just make it impossible.
yes, we need multiple.
We need multiple Santas. So
One Santa per city and then a few to cover the country will probably be sufficient. Which is a lot of them, but I think at this stage we can... It's
Claire's
not
there.
too much more of a stretch.
okay, Sammy's asked,
Yay.
couldn't an orbital Santa with a complex teleportation system that simultaneously offloaded presents and boarded the milk and cookies Yes, that's conceivable, but where does the sleigh come from? Does he just do a late night run with the sleigh just to make people think that was how
unless
he
the
delivered?
sleigh is what delivers the loads to the satellite.
Oh, so they have.
In which case, we don't even.
Okay.
In which case, he doesn't even need to launch on Christmas Eve. He's got as long as he's there before Christmas Eve.
So what you're suggesting is because.
Oh no, we got a problem.
Quantum tunneling.
We
have
got another
quantum
problem.
tunneling teleporter.
We would need a string of satellites. We still can't do it with one, because even
Starlink.
in low Earth orbit. Yeah. Well, that was just I'm thinking, or some of the other systems where you put a bunch of CubeSats in orbit and you make a ring of them to monitor things like bushfires.
So what if Santa has a string of geosynchronous orbits of satellites that can, so he can see all of the planet. He has enough helpers Santas to be able to get to quantum tunnel from each of those to do all the sites, and they have sleighs that reload the.
I think I have a slightly different version of that. Instead of doing geosynchronous, do low Earth orbit.
Yep.
Because they'll go around in 90 minutes, but they're moving. But if you have a ring of them,
also
that's
Elon
fine.
Musk is not launching. Starlink isn't about internet. It's the new satellite system for Santa. The upgrade.
Yeah, I win again. I win again.
Yeah.
Right.
You said CubeSats in low Earth orbit.
Because we know we have 24 hours.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If we have a ring of satellites, as the Earth rotates 24 hours, we're good.
Yep.
No, you're going to have to work on the sidereal day here.
So
you're going to have to
you would
minus
also
some
still
plus
need a
daylight
handful
saving.
of Santas. You'd have to have a handful of helpers for Santa to do this, because you'd have to have one for each satellite. And a string of helpers who dress up like Santa to ride the sleighs up to the satellites. And yeah, and without quantum tunneling teleportation, yeah, totally doable. Yeah, I think we've
Also,
solved
the
it.
You
fact
can
he has
still
to
have
start
one
and use-
Santa who just delivers to all of the satellites in advance, and then helpers on them deliver. Well, oh no, you still need multiple.
Although I
so
suppose
yeah, you're right.
he could technically quantum tunnel from one satellite to the other around the rings. But I think it's easier if he just has enough help. So Santa's a family of Santas, in much the same way as there's a family of Loch Ness monsters, and that's why
Nessie had kids.
Nessie had kids. Yeah. So Santa's a family.
You understand something? Yeah, just something you've missed. He has to start.
Yeah, sorry,
in New
native
Zealand.
atheists, you can't super chat us. I'm not monetized yet. If you're not sub to the channel, please sub. And that Matt and I do things like this fairly regularly. We're also starting a new channel where we'll be doing even more sciencey stuff. But generally speaking, the more adulty sciencey things will end up here, and shows like this will probably actually end up on the other channel once we get going, because
Will it have a bigger bathtub?
Sorry.
Will it have a bigger bathtub?
Well, we're not calling.
I don't think it will have a bathtub.
No, it won't. It's not the same name. The Schrodinger's bathtub will stay on this channel, and it'll be the more adult one. But because we haven't launched the new channel until New Year, that's why this one's on.
So will Matt be allowed on that show?
Well, what?
Well, if it's more adult, how's Matt going to get in?
This one's more adult. That one's going to be more kid-friendly. Although tonight's is not more adult because kids may watch this. So.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Starlink could be Santa's new array of satellites for helping with delivery. That would. Arger asked, do I have enough watch hours for monetization? I did! Until a certain video got taken down.
Oh.
So, and at the moment I'm not producing enough content to keep my watch hours up there, so no, I don't. But it wouldn't take me long to get back up there with the watch hours. It would just mean, being a bit more active on it.
My channel is nowhere near
But
that.
I'm not overly worried about the monetization because that can come later. And I do have a Patreon, and the link's in the description if people want to help out. I have a Patreon, and it has been used because we use some of the money from the Patreon to buy an app for doing animations that Matt and I will be using. And I also used it to get the updated version of StreamYards, so that we could have extra guests and do other things, and just so that we could do more stuff. So that'd be nice for us Matt and I do more streams.
Yeah, if you actually want to see that app Jen was mentioning in action, you can go watch my alien videos, because we
use that.
The animation for some of the planets, or pretty much all the planets, the introduction for each section, and was done on that.
Yeah.
So
We're still learning
it's being used.
And it'll be used probably to do some of the intros for some of the videos we do and things like that, because it's quite nice.
It was really cool. I loved using it. So yeah, thanks for that.
Right, so Santa's theoretically possible to travel at those speeds. We just have a problem with stopping, heat, and if he crashes.
Yes. But if
Which
we
is
do it
why
the
I
other
think
way
the
is
satellite idea is better.
Yeah, because there's no atmosphere, so it
Because
doesn't
then
matter.
the heat, the friction is less of an issue. Santa has all year to get the presents up to the satellites.
Hi, Krabby.
And if he's got helpers, it doesn't matter.
And he only needs 800 million satellites to deposit all the presents.
Well,
but the thing is, it wouldn't have to be simultaneous.
You can cover the Earth with a continual visual array with about 60 satellites or less, even. So you could do it with 60.
Yeah, but you're going to change the weight of said satellites with the presence upon said satellites, because they have to deliver them to multiple houses.
Yes, but the air resistance is significantly less, and whatever you're attaching to those satellites has already been accelerated to their speed, so you don't actually need to worry about weighing them back down to Earth, because that's not how orbits work. Yeah,
but
you can accelerate. You can spend all year accelerating them up.
Yep.
But what happens as the mass changes?
Nothing really. Not when you're in orbit.
How do you know? How do you know?
Because
were you there?
F equals ma, and orbital velocity. When you take all this stuff into account, you cancel mass out. Orbital velocity doesn't depend on mass.
Yep.
But you're in low Earth orbit. It does.
It is quite possible, Brilliant.
There's a minor amount of air resistance, but you can deliver the extra energy when you deliver the presents. There's not much to worry about. Can I
suggest something else too here as far as Santa going to every single house? Santa doesn't actually have to appear at every single house if he can teleport, because he could technically teleport down the presents and teleport up the milk and the cookie easily, and only teleport to the houses where there is somebody awake within the house. So if everyone's asleep, he doesn't have to physically go himself. So that takes a lot of stress.
Santa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well,
Santa.
Most people never see him.
Yeah, so how do you know? Just because, he may not go to every single house. He may just go to some houses, which reduces that a lot, especially if he times his time when he goes. So, and Aunt Jo wants cookies now.
Oh, man, I'm trying to think if we've got any in the house.
Have you got toast?
Sammy's happy for contributed to proving Santa.
Yes, Stavros, but I don't have a cat.
Well, we can fix that.
I did see one in our front yard this morning, even though we don't own a cat.
And Jeannie's got the cookies.
Also, yeah, but here's the thing. Do you own a fry pan?
Yes.
What happens when you have a fry pan full of food and you try and transfer it across to the counter? When it falls out of your hand, which way does it fall? Just strap the toast to the back of your fry pan. Done.
No cats needed. Way more humane, and you don't need a food source now.
Yes, but I like the constant meow.
It makes a real whiny noise,
and the
doesn't
fission.
it? And it's fish in. The fish in reactor is just such a great name.
Yeah, it's a rotary fission reactor.
It's a rotary fission reactor.
Oh dear.
And if you're in space and it's spinning, then you don't need to worry too much about disorientating the cat.
Well,
Scammer wants to know if Santa has to
up.
scan his presents as delivered on a PDA. I don't think so, because I don't think Santa actually requires anyone to sign anything, and there's no tracking for Santa's presents, so that's probably but he may have to track it for his own purposes.
QR code?
Yeah, but since COVID, nobody requires signatures anymore. Generally.
Yeah, but he'll have to sign in.
Yeah, but he's quantum tunneling, and the virus is too big to quantum tunnel, so he's not bringing any back with him, so he should be all right.
Yeah, but has he had the PCR test?
Yeah, this was a question you asked earlier, because he needs the test before he can go to certain states. Yeah, but that's not his problem now, because he's not driving in their airspace. He's teleporting.
Actually, well, yeah, but the moment he enters the airspace, if he hasn't had the test, he'll have to quarantine for 14 days.
Now, here's a problem, isn't it? Now, if Santa enters a household that has COVID and catches the COVID, could he then theoretically spread the COVID throughout the entire planet?
This is why I don't think he can catch it, because the COVID's too big. It can't quantum tunnel.
Okay.
So we'll get
but
left
Omicron Persei 8 has...
So,
Are you about to mention something about 5G, Davros? Because otherwise I'll reach through the screen and take your syringe out of your hands.
Why would I say 5G? They already got you with the 3G, dude. Wow.
Ginny, yes. Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. He doesn't track his gifts. No wonder I never got what I wanted.
So we need Jeff Bezos to be.
I got us ready.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Bezos thought he was
Santa,
as important as Santa.
I would want to say to kids, if you're ever wondering about anything, there is an awful lot more evidence to suggest for your Santa Claus than there is for any god. So, Santa is real. You only have to believe in him and get a present.
No, just ask Mum.
Yeah, just ask Mum.
Mm.
Go say to your mum, if you watch this, say, the scientists on YouTube have said that Santa is real.
Is that a new job now? New job title? I'm a YouTube scientist.
I would hate that to be a job title, wouldn't it? YouTube.
Yes, because that means that I'm probably going to get... Yes, because it means I'm probably... If we got that title, it would mean we'd get lumped in with flat earthers.
Yeah.
And young earthers and climate deniers and anti-vaxxers. I don't want to get lumped in with any of them. That would hurt. Mentally hurt.
Your YouTube university degree will be invalid. I mean,
hello, my name is Almost a Doctor, and I have been studying for 4 years on YouTube, and I have taught at many a high school.
No, you've taught at many a live stream.
And I have yelled and accosted many a children across a school field.
Yeah. Oh no! He hasn't, kids. He really hasn't.
Well, I haven't.
I hope the kids don't read the chat.
No, there is one infamous person, but yes, we shall not mention his name.
Yes.
Jeff's is called a Santa apologist.
I'd still rather have that title.
Yeah, I have no problem with being called a Santa apologist.
Sorry, my camera's not. Let's see if I can get it to track my hand back to my face.
Apparently, no. Jeff's a Santa mythicist.
But here's the thing: Santa's not there is a religious connotation to Santa, but the one we have now has nothing to do with the guy who was dropping the gold in the chimney for the dowry. Like that's just
It's come a long way.
Yeah.
But originally it was quite weird. It was brought to America by the Dutch, and the person who wrote the first
I blame
version
Coca-Cola.
did it as like a joke, didn't he? In terms of the written record of it. They didn't take it seriously at first.
Well, historically,
only later
Santa
that we
wears
kind of
green,
came to-
not red. That's a bit that really annoys me.
No, that's a myth,
Is it?
unfortunately. Yeah,
Ooh.
it was actually a mix of colours, and there isn't this thing that it was green and then suddenly became red after Coke, which is the one that goes around. It was that Coke just kind of took it, rolled with the red side of it, and then it became more streamlined. I don't think it was a necessary they converted it from green to red, because I think that's one of those things that I remember listening about, and it was it's like it's not quite as straightforward as most things are. It's quite mixed.
But everything's like that, isn't it?
What are you saying?
The historical stories we have of many things aren't exactly what they actually were. So,
I have a theory. He just changed his frequency. He went from green to red.
it was the Doppler shift again.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
moving away.
You
from
can't. You actually can't have a green You can't have a green Doppler shift though.
Oh, actually, you can. Have you seen it when the sun sets?
it. That's not Doppler.
That's not Doppler.
Oh, you can still get green shift.
Well, like technically, you can't have a green star. I mean, technically, okay, you can have a green star. Technically, our sun is a green star. At the temperature it's at, the predominant color of our star is green, but it will not look green because of the way the color spectrum is.
Yes.
What are you saying? The sun's on a spectrum?
Yeah. It wants to identify as a black hole. I could get cancelled for that joke.
Oh. Matt, you'll learn one day. Don't take everything.
I think
so
I'm learning
seriously.
pretty quickly.
You are. You've come a long way, mate. I must admit.
No, but I mean, yeah, it's got to do with the year shift in frequencies and stuff. That's why you only really get red, yellow, and blue stars, because your green stars that would technically be in the middle, the mix of colors that you get within the spectrum actually means that they look yellow. They look more yellow than they do green, even though the predominant color within the star is green. I'm not going to do a video about it because other people have done way better videos about that than me. But it is.
I did kind of have a video on it.
Sammy
One of
wants
the other
us-
things too is that
Sammy
to
wants
our
us to explain
eyes-
it more.
the other thing too is that because the sun is so bright and our photoreceptors are not, well, they're too sensitive to pick up the nuances with the sun. They just get overwhelmed, and so the red and the the green and the blue, like all the red, yellow, blue, they all get overwhelmed. And to our eyes, it's just like everything's getting overwhelmed. Therefore, it's just white.
Or very.
That's
bright
why
yellow.
the sun, kind of it tends to be yellow.
But even if you look at the
white.
sun through a filter, you will see more of an orangey, yellowy color for our sun than a green. Even though the predominant wavelength for our sun's emitting is actually green.
And our eyes' sensitivity is not even across all the wavelengths, and then by the time you take into the energy of photons, everything gets confusing, which is a little ironic because our eyes are more sensitive to green than other colors, which is why a lot of the more powerful laser pointers are green. I wish I had my green laser pointer with me, but I actually took it to work so I could test it to see how powerful it was. So here's a slightly random question. My laser pointer claims to be less than 1 milliwatt.
What?
I ran it through the testers I have. It's a green laser pointer and it says it's less than 1 milliwatt. I don't believe it. I didn't believe it. I actually put it up against one of the proper sensors I have in my lab. Do you want to guess how powerful it actually is?
2.5?
Yeah. 3?
Because my guess was about 5. Because that's fairly common for the pen-sized laser
need
pointers.
that. You would need at least 2.5 for that wavelength.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
The sensor came back telling me 20 milliwatts.
Is that even within spec that you're allowed to sell?
No.
I
You
didn't
cannot
think so.
sell that as less than 1 milliwatt. You can legally have it in Australia for certain reasons.
No, you have
Which-
certain reasons. So
I fall under those reasons. The main reason I was actually testing it was for figuring out some safety measurements for astronomy, and one of the reasons you can use it is for astronomical societies. So if you're all out there watching for Santa on New Year's Eve, don't point laser pointers up if we want to tie this in. But green ones
don't
are really
blind
useful
Santa
for that, 'cause
anyway.
they're
'Cause
easy
you
to
do not want him to crash that
Yes.
sleigh.
Yes. We're going to end up with an asteroid impact, and we don't want that. But
Yeah, we don't
like,
want a
so
Tunguska event in Sydney. That would be bad.
The Virillion has said the sun will never become a black hole, though, because it's the wrong mass. Well, yes, in the usual sense, a star the size of our
Oh, it just
our sun can't
identifies
become a
as
black
one.
hole.
So
But but you could have a black hole that's the same mass as our sun. You just have to compact the core enough. You just have to compact all that matter enough that it, you've got the density of matter at the core to become a black hole. You could have
just throw a spoonful of a pulsar at it.
A spoonful of pulsar makes a black hole go down. Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, we can see your comment, Krabby.
Don't get crabby about it.
Yeah.
which one was it? Sorry, mine's this. Oh yeah, this one. So I've got my microphone is actually sitting in the way of part of the chat. So
yeah,
my apologies
Also,
if I don't
Matt,
ever see
you're not doing enough air quotes when you say laser.
Yes, because I'm talking about
Whoa.
real lasers.
Granny. Someone pointed a laser at my daughter while she was playing soccer to try and get her to miss. She was the goalie. Yeah, that person. Yeah, needs a good slap around the ears to be. Oh, sorry, children. No one deserves a slap around the ears. But don't point lasers at people. You can damage people's retinas.
Well, see, the point of what I was trying to get at is that even when they say they're lower power than they are, they're more dangerous than you think.
Yes.
They're more powerful than you think.
It used to be don't point fingers at people. Now it's don't point lasers. What's going to be next? Don't
So
point your
what is the
ICBM
maths
at it.
that Aunt Jess asking us to do? Let's do the maths of Kagnar now.
Which one's that?
I have no idea. I don't.
Oh, that's
good. They got thrown out of the audience. That's
that's
good,
fine.
Granny.
Yeah, they should have been. How can you point a laser at a kid? I don't get that. I'm
Have you
assuming
met
kids,
people? Have you met
Although
people?
even if they're older, you just
met
don't
people,
point
yeah.
lasers at people. Yeah, don't point lasers at anyone.
I have to say, guys, this has been one of the most fun streams I've done for a little while, and we've had some good six packs. But this has been
But mind
awesome
you,
fun.
Cats and lasers.
Oh, you put
best
the link
fun
in
you'll
there
ever
for
have.
Kagnar. Okay.
Yeah, no, I can see it.
Alright.
Let's go have
Yeah,
a look.
I'll let you have a look, Matt, because I've got my 3 screens in use, and it's a bit hard for me to bring it up.
Okay, I don't think this is maybe quite as child friendly.
Okay, maybe it's something we might do on a different stream at some point where we can...
Yes, I'm thinking.
We might do the maths of that.
Does it involve ducks?
It
No,
wasn't Claire who
unfortunately.
asked. It was Andrew.
No. I'm just trying to find some relevance here. Are there any? Is there any toast? in this one?
No.
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 No, and we'll
Actually,
discuss
speaking
that
of
after stream,
lasers,
I think.
I have a laser in my drawer that's probably as old as Matt. It was an old lecturer's laser.
Would the
What
flat
colour
Earth
is it?
model? Okay, there's an obscure question from Judy. Would the flat Earth model help Santa? No. The flat Earth would
Nope.
be decidedly worse, actually, because you wouldn't be able to have orbiting satellites for this.
And he'd have to change his distances as he got to the southern extremities.
Yeah, and he would be all the calculations we did enabled Santa not to have to change directions whilst after he'd accelerated, so that he wouldn't cop the extra G forces of change. Whereas on a flat Earth, you'd have more problems with
Because he'd have to
going
go
in a
east to
spiral.
west.
Yeah, he'd have to go in a spiral basically to do it. So he'd be subject to G forces all the time. Although, to be fair, if you're a flat earther, you probably you were not going to believe in G forces and all that stuff because you deny science. So, and Santa doesn't believe in denying
been on the
science.
gravitron. If a flat earther's been on the gravitron, they deny
Okay,
gravity.
I will. Godless Granny, traveling in a spiral doesn't help when we're talking about G forces. Because to travel in a circle like that, you're still effectively changing directions. So at each point of the curve that you're moving around as you're traveling around in the spiral, you're feeling the G forces due to the centrifugal forces. Have I said the right one? Yeah, centrifugal.
Yeah.
Yes. I hate it when my brain does that to me. Yeah.
Now, I've also heard some people say that it's not a real force, but actually when you consider rotational frames of reference, it is.
I actually watched a really good video today where somebody was talking about these things of where when a type of force or a description of how something happens is useful in letting people understand why something happens, even if it's technically incorrect, as long as you're within you're not breaking physics in explaining it with that. It's not wrong to use that. So centrifugal force is there to talk about, even though it's not a real force in the sense of actual how we describe most forces. And gravity's the same.
As I said, it's when you consider rotational frames, so when you actually consider from the point of view of your object and whatever you're referring it to as rotating, it's incredibly useful.
Yeah. And you get the same things.
There's no problem.
One of the good examples of that, and it was actually used in the thing I saw today, was flow of current. Because for a long time we thought current flows positive to negative, or no, it doesn't. It flows negative to positive, but we still talk about it as flowing positive to negative. But in the actual sense, current doesn't even flow. Current is within wires. Current is actually the movement of the fields around the outside of the wires. That the actual way electricity works is really different to how we envisage it. But these are all tools to help us understand things better. So as long as at some point in your education you understand, if you're using this all the time, how the actual physics works, it doesn't matter if we have to use simplified systems, as long as those systems are still accurate enough for people to be able to do the work that they need to do with it. Which is the same reason why science still uses Newton's mechanics to describe things, even though if you're going to be properly accurate, you should be using relativity or general relativity to describe things. Because it's close enough. So it's not 100% accurate, but it's an approximation. So we often use approximations in science, like we used tonight. Lots of approximations to get to our result. Because in the scheme of it, in the orders of magnitude we were working with, it didn't matter that we approximated. So
yeah, there is a slight problem with this electricity thing, because I know what you're talking about. I've seen Veritasium's video.
Yeah.
And I've seen several other videos upon this thing, including Science Asylum and a few others. Okay, so if you're running it in a DC current, right, and you've got a positive electrode, right, so your negative's ground and your positive's active, which way does it flow? Because you're putting heat in from one to the other, right? one will take up 60 to 70% of the heat. You know this, don't you?
Yeah, and I wasn't
You
listening.
know how,
Sorry, I
like,
was
one
answering
side of a
somebody else.
battery... Oh, how dare you!
Sorry.
Like, one side of a battery gets hot.
Yeah.
One side of a battery gets hotter than the other, depending on the polarity.
Yes.
Yeah. Same thing happens when you change your cathode, as it were. So if you go DC electrode negative compared to electrode positive, will depend on whether the heat goes through the work or it goes through your consumable.
Okay.
Right. So what's happening there is you're exciting more electrons in the actual piece you're working with, or is it the cathode, which would actually be a welding consumable or something like that? It's going in colder, so less electrons are coming from that, and then they're sharing them and creates that chemical reaction that does the business. It changes in AC, but it's a similar process.
Yeah. Yeah,
It still has a flow.
Yes, but the flow is very slow, and how the actual charge moves through the wire is different to how that works. So it's really complicated, which is why we don't usually talk about it in that sense. You know.
And that's why people have pulled up Veritasium on it.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
dude,
because
you just like
it's not just that. I did the same thing. I wrote a comment on one of his things about it, and I said, yeah, it's not just that. You cannot
he went
just
way above people's understanding.
and even then, he's still not completely right, because you have to take into account that there is actually electron flow underneath that, and resistance and everything. So but in a sense he's right, but he's also wrong. But yeah, it just depends how
Cool.
Science is interesting. So I think we're about at a point of winding up, because it must be getting really late for Matt by now, like 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's
1
1
o'clock for
a.m.
him.
And Davros, what are you? You're at about 12.
30.
12:30. So we might be winding up, people. This has been an incredibly fun stream. We've really enjoyed it. I'm sure Matt and I will be doing a few more science videos over the next couple of weeks, but don't expect one every Saturday. Matt's been pretty busy, although he does get a bit of a break over Christmas, but we all need breaks. So, but we might do
I
another
think
one.
I had the best answers.
We enjoyed having you here, Davros.
I mean, we did need our cats.
We did. Oh, we
Our
so
fish
needed
in reaction.
fish in reactors. Yeah.
Oh, that's not an easy one to say. Fish in reactors.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not fishing, it's fish
in reactors. We'll have to make a meme about this.
Oh, jeez. I'll have to speak to Peter.
Yeah. All right. So again, thank you everybody in the chat. You've been amazing. I know I didn't put up. Well, I don't know. Put up every single person's comment. But it's been brilliant seeing the flow of conversation within the chat that has been moving from negative to positive all night. I can help that. Our sun isn't really identifying as a black hole, just for anybody who's wondering. And yeah, it's been a lot of Christmas fun and Christmas cheer. Have a great Christmas, everybody. Next weekend, Claire and I are back on with my stream that happens before Mayhem, and I nearly said something I shouldn't have for this stream. You know what my show's called. It's not suitable for kids. I'm sorry, kids, but it is a lot of fun if you're an adult. I dare say Matt and I will have some other science coming at you over the next couple of weeks, and there'll probably be a bit of other fun streams now and then as we lead up into Christmas, and we'll all be having a lot of fun between now and then. But in the meantime, have a great holiday season, everyone. It's been lovely, and thank you, Davros, for hopping in with us.
You're very welcome.
And Matt,
it's always fun.
Oh, it is. And Matt, always fun working together. And I'm sorry I made you do it, Matt.
I enjoyed tonight. Sorry, I know. If I kept stuffing the maths up, it's late here, and I've had a full week of trying to do maths and experiments, so my brain's already quite slow on those. But I think once you round off to one significant figure, we weren't terrible. So
I think we did pretty well.
That's a plus.
It's a plus, yeah. So, Merry Christmas, all. And, don't drink too much. Because I can't say my normal outro. What was that,
save it
Matt?
for next week.
Did you have something to say? Why don't you?
Oh yes, because my normal outro is slightly more apt for tonight.
Let's do yours.
Especially at this time of year, everyone, be like a proton and stay positive.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.